Did you know that every 4 seconds, someone somewhere in the world develops dementia? Here in Canada, more than 500,000 people are currently living with Alzheimer's disease or another form of dementia. As Canada's population ages, that number is expected to grow dramatically in the decades ahead. But the story becomes even more significant when we look at Alberta. Today, more than 46,000 Albertans and Northwest Territories residents are living with Alzheimer's disease or another form of dementia. According to the 2024 Alzheimer's Society of Canada's landmark study, Alberta is projected to experience the fastest growth in dementia cases of any province in the country. By 2050, the number of Albertans living with dementia is expected to increase by 286%, the largest projected increase in Canada. That means more Alberta families will find themselves navigating memory loss, cognitive changes, caregiving responsibilities, and the difficult decisions that often come with a changing brain. For Edmonton families, a number like that can feel entirely overwhelming. But the research gives us much more hopeful ways to look at this. Yes, there are risk factors we cannot change, like our age and genetics, but there are also large areas of our daily lives that we can directly influence over time. The landmark study identifies 12 modifiable risk factors, and together they are linked to about 40% of dementia cases worldwide. So today we are counting down 10 science-backed ways to support brain health, and number 1 is the exact strategy that ties this entire list together. Welcome to the Art of Aging. I'm Sherry Gibson-Walters, certified professional consultant on aging and CEO of Harmony Caregiving, and every day we walk beside Edmonton families navigating the aging and caregiving journey. Before we jump into the countdown, let's establish one honest ground rule. This conversation is never about laying blame on anyone for a dementia diagnosis. Dementia is incredibly complex. Age remains the strongest risk factor, and variables like genetics, sex at birth, medical history, environment, and basic life circumstances all play major roles. The researchers behind the landmark study also make a vital point. Risk factors are only truly changeable when people have access to the right support, resources, healthcare, and community circumstances around them. So as we go through this list, please hear it as practical, empowering information, not pressure, not blame, and not a guarantee. Number 10 is hearing. One of the best things we can do for brain health is stay connected with other people, and hearing plays a bigger role in that than many realize. Research suggests that untreated hearing loss is associated with an increased risk of cognitive decline. Conversations challenge our brains. They help us remember, interpret emotions, and stay engaged with the world around us. When hearing becomes difficult, many people begin participating less. Not because they want to, but because following conversations takes so much effort. Sometimes families mistake that withdrawal for disinterest, low mood, or distraction. But the real issue may be that the person is working so hard just to hear that that connection becomes exhausting. Over time, those missed moments can add up. Protecting your hearing helps protect your ability to stay involved with family, friends, and community. If you are turning up the TV, asking people to repeat themselves, or finding conversations harder to follow, consider booking a hearing test. Supporting your hearing is not just about hearing better, it is about staying connected to the people and moments that give life meaning. Number 9 is protecting your head. When most people think about dementia risk, they think about what happens later in life, but some risk factors begin much earlier. Traumatic brain injury is one of the modifiable risk factors identified in dementia research. And what makes this one unique is that the injury often happens years, sometimes decades, before dementia symptoms would ever appear. A concussion may seem temporary, a head injury may heal, life moves on, but researchers have found that traumatic brain injuries can be associated with a higher risk of dementia later on in life. That is why protecting the brain when we are young matters so much. Not because every concussion leads to dementia, and not because anyone should panic over a past injury, but because prevention matters. Sometimes brain protection looks very simple: wearing a helmet while cycling, using proper sports equipment, following concussion protocols, using safety gear at work, making sure that children and teens understand that the head injuries should be taken seriously. One of the challenges with brain injuries is that the consequences are not always immediate. The choices we make in childhood, adolescence, and adulthood can affect brain health many years later. And that is why protecting your head is really an investment in your future self. Number 8 is physical inactivity. Physical inactivity is linked to dementia risk, but movement does not have to be intense or exhausting to be meaningful. The absolute best kind of movement is the kind a senior can do safely, comfortably, and, most importantly, consistently. When it is -30 outside or +30, a walk around the block isn't realistic, but an indoor walk through the mall, a gentle aquasizing class designed for older adults, or chair stretches in the living room absolutely count. And movement is one of the easiest things to do together. A walk with an adult child, a swim with an old friend. When movement is shared, it tends to last. If there are underlying health or mobility concerns, always speak with your family doctor or physical therapist about what is safe. What supports the heart directly supports the brain, and movement is one of the most practical places to begin. Number 7 is blood pressure. High blood pressure in midlife is a critical risk factor. The real challenge here is that hypertension is almost always silent. You don't feel it. Many people have no idea their numbers are creeping up until it's checked. And that is why regular tracking matters. You can ask your doctor during a routine visit or simply pop into your local pharmacy to use their blood pressure kiosk. We have met many families who only learned about a parent's blood pressure after a health scare. A 2-minute check is a small act of care for yourself and for the people who love you. If your blood pressure is consistently tracking high, work directly with your healthcare team to manage it. This is one of those areas where information gives you options. You cannot manage what you do not know. Number 6 brings 2 closely related risk factors together, diabetes and obesity. Both are linked to higher dementia risk, and both need to be talked about with immense care and zero judgment. This is an area where the conversation should stay strictly focused on overall health, professional support, and what is realistic for your body. The goal is to care for your system in ways that naturally support your brain over time. Managing blood sugar, eating nutrient-dense food, moving safely, and keeping a steady routine can change the long-term picture. Now, before we continue, here is something worth noticing. The final 3 items on this list are not about your body at all. They are about your mind, your relationships, and one surprising strategy that ties everything together. Let's keep going. Number 5 is smoking and heavy alcohol use. Both are prominent on the modifiable risk list. For many people, this is not a simple or easy topic to bring up. Smoking is often deeply tied to decades of habit and stress management. Heavy drinking can quietly slip into routine as a way of coping with grief, retirement, isolation, or later life loneliness. That is exactly why professional, non-judgmental support matters. A family physician, a counselor, or a local Alberta health support program can help someone make structural lifestyle changes without feeling isolated. Even later in life, reducing smoking or heavy drinking actually delivers real benefits to your vascular system, which immediately supports the brain. Number 4 is mental health. Depression is formally recognized as a modifiable risk factor, which means that looking after your emotional well-being is a core pillar of looking after your brain health. If you have noticed a parent becoming increasingly low, unusually withdrawn, or just not acting like themselves, that deserves immediate professional attention. Major changes in mood, sleep patterns, appetite, or daily motivation should never be dismissed as just a normal part of getting older. Number 3 is lifelong learning. While lower education early in life is a recognized risk factor, keeping your mind actively engaged and challenged later in life builds what researchers call cognitive resilience. Learning forces the brain to form new neural pathways, and it creates variety and mental stimulation. And don't worry, this does not mean that you need to enroll in a formal university degree. It could be tackling a complex puzzle, trying out a challenging new recipe, or just picking up an instrument. Choose something that is highly enjoyable to you, but just challenging enough that your brain has to put in a little real effort. Curiosity is a powerful health tool. And one of the single best ways to stay mentally engaged is also one of the most human. That brings us to number 2. Number 2 is social connection. Social isolation is a significant modifiable risk factor. Loneliness, especially as we age, affects much more than just our mood. It impacts our confidence, daily motivation, physical health, and long-term brain health. Isolation almost always happens gradually. A spouse passes away, driving the White Mud or the Anthony Henday starts to feel too stressful, a severe heat wave keeps someone indoors for weeks on end. Slowly, a person's world can shrink to the four walls of their living room. Rebuilding that network matters. It may look like arranging DATS transportation to visit a local senior program at the Central Lyon Senior Center or the Sage Seniors Association. And it's also where dedicated companionship support at home becomes so meaningful. Companionship isn't just paying someone to sit in a room. It is about bringing consistent conversation, shared laughter, encouragement, and a solid reason to stay connected to the parts of life a senior still loves. At Harmony, we believe human connection is the foundation of dignity. And now we are at number 1. This is the overarching strategy that makes the entire list twice as strong. Do not just pick one item, stack them. The landmark study points out that the greatest neurological benefit comes from a multimodal approach, meaning you combine these small daily choices, movement, hearing support, blood pressure tracking, mental health advocacy, and social connection all work together over time. No single habit has to carry the whole weight alone. That is exactly why that 40% statistic matters so much. It does not mean dementia is always preventable, and it certainly does not mean that a diagnosis is anyone's fault. It means we have meaningful areas of influence, and daily influence is incredibly powerful. This list isn't a book of guarantees. It is a roadmap for understanding how to support brain health, starting exactly where you are today. And please know this, if dementia is already a reality in your family's story, these steps still matter. Staying active matters. Staying connected matters. Safety routine and the right support directly protect a senior's quality of life right now. People can and do live meaningful, full years after a diagnosis, especially when the right support ecosystem is wrapped around them. At Harmony Caregiving, we bridge the gap for families across Edmonton, St. Albert, and Strathcona County. We help you navigate local options like client-directed home care invoicing, CDHCI, so you can secure government funding to help cover private care aids. You do not have to struggle through this healthcare maze alone. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of The Art of Aging. If there is just one takeaway from our conversation today, let it be this. Your brain health is supported by a collection of small choices made consistently over time. If this conversation resonated with you or could help a friend, please take a moment to subscribe, share this video, and or leave us a review. Together we can build a community that values healthy aging and honors those who make dedicated care possible. Until next time, seize the day, embrace the moment, keep fit, and have fun. Carpe diem.